Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. And I've got an exciting guest with whom we're going to be talking about image. As you all know, that this is a time that is somewhat of a transition for each and every one of us going through divorce. And it is a definite opportunity for us to work on, change, refine, whatever you might be doing with your image. And I've got the perfect person to discuss that with today. Before we jump into it, though, I wanted to welcome some of the new members to the community, David, Jordan, and Craig. Welcome to the Divorced Advocate community. If you're not part of the community yet, check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. We have resources for you wherever you're at in your divorce journey and at whatever level you are interested in engaging, from free to paid. There is the membership site that gives you all kinds of opportunities. There are some free resources like the divorce quiz that'll help you to gauge where you're at mentally, emotionally in your divorce compared to tens of thousands of others who have gone through it. So check that one out for sure, and have an opportunity once you finish that to have a chat with me. So check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. Okay. My guest today is Karina Solomon, and she is the author of Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. And she is a relationship, intimacy, and style makeover expert. Her midlife makeover coaching practice focuses on helping divorcees and others starting over after any huge life transition to clear their past and design an irresistible future. Karina's background as an image consultant for over 2 decades has served hundreds of men and women in creating and manifesting their best style. Karina teaches the keys to confidence from the bedroom to the boardroom and inspires her clients to create their lives congruent with their deepest needs and desires. Karina, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here. This is one of my favorite topics, Jude, especially talking to guys. I'll admit it.
Well, so we've met a couple of times, and I felt like we had really fun and interesting conversations. And we did talk about, I like fashion. I like clothes, shoes, suits, stuff like that. So we immediately were able to hit it off and talk about that, among other things. It wasn't just a surface level topic. And really, when we talk about image, and we'll get into this a little bit today, it is somewhat surface level, but there's things that are much deeper that go into it or manifest from it, et cetera. But before we get too deep into it, share with the audience a little bit about yourself and then how you got into this work.
Again, a really fun story, actually. So I grew up in the Boston area, and my mom was always an artist, and she was always pointing things out. She would literally hold up the Cheerio box and say, "Girls, somebody designed this, Somebody had to pick the colors and the shapes." And we'd go, "Yeah, Mom." And it was just, but she was always going, "Look, this picture's crooked. It would be better if." And she was an interior designer as well. So she was always, so my eyes were tuned to color, style, all that forever. And my dad would get up, get ready to go off to work as a pediatrician, and he'd be running down the stairs. And in those days, it was always tie, suit, and or slacks and a jacket. And he'd be coming down the stairs tying his tie. And my mother would say, "Oh, Paul, that would never do. Go back upstairs and get a different tie." And he would say, he'd grumble, but he'd smile and he'd say, "I have my own exterior consultant." So that was something I kind of grew up witnessing, my mother dressing my father. And And we always had to, us kids had to always look good. Put the clothes out at night, girls. I don't want to hear you in the morning, whining about your clothes not being prepared. So that's like my first thing. It's kind of out of the Boy Scouts. Be prepared. Like, really,
Yep.
be prepared. So, but I wasn't a style consultant. I didn't go to school for it because I'm dating myself. I'm going to do this on purpose. In the mid 80s, I was living in San Francisco, which is a place where style really mattered. Some of you live in places like I do in Boulder, Colorado right now, where my eyeballs kind of hurt here. It's like people are just not dressing outside of fleece, Birkenstocks,
Yeah.
hiking boots. This is not where I'm going to make a living as a style consultant, but I work online anyway now. But Denver's a little different where you are, Jude. But anyway, so I'd been a school teacher, so my background's in education. It's always made sense to me my whole life if I've learned something that I think would be helpful for someone else, I want to share the wealth of knowledge. And the first thing I remember teaching was attempting to teach my baby sister who was 1. I was 3 and I had just learned how to tie my shoes. Some of you who are younger didn't have to learn how to tie your shoes because you had Velcro. We didn't have Velcro. Jude, I think I might be able to speak for you and me on that one. Dating us
Yeah.
both.
Right.
But anyway, of course, a 1-year-old, no matter how smart she might be, is probably not going to be able to do that. But I can remember trying to share that wealth. Well, fast forward. My mother used to call me her little dress horse, because I used to change my clothes all the time. I just always liked clothes. So fast forward, I was selling computer systems in San Francisco. And while I liked the people, I thought that was fun. I didn't want to know about all those widgets. It was too much. But there was a guy who came in and was buying computer systems from me. And I'm going to be really honest about this. So he worked for a very large East Coast company. But this was in San Francisco, near San Francisco. And I sold him computers. We dated briefly, and then we just became really good friends. And I was about 30. He was 40, and he was prematurely gray, green eyes, Italian American, extremely good looking guy who dressed like, please, awful. And I just said to him one day, as a friend, a little too scary if I'm the girlfriend, you should, let me tell you what to do, right? How does that go over? Anyway, but what I said to him as a friend, you are so handsome. Can I take you shopping? I just, and he said, sure, next paycheck. So next paycheck, we went shopping. And I can remember it was a Nordstrom's in Northern California, just south of San Francisco, a Nordstrom's and then a Macy's. And I remember we spent $1,200 of his hard-earned dollars, and it was a sport jacket. Which was a lot, back then.
At
The
that time,
80s.
yeah, for sure.
Right. But he did it. He also made a lot of money. But we got a sport jacket and a bunch of stuff. And he said to me, would you do me a favor? Would you come back to my home and put everything together for me? I am so colorblind. I've been ridiculed my whole life. And things, and you got to like mark A on the label that goes the pants with the da-da-da. And I was like, whoa, because I didn't know I hadn't heard about color blindness. I just, I didn't have it. I didn't know anybody who did. I had sisters. It's a, I should look up the stat again. I'm not sure if it's 1 in 12 or 12%. It is a high percentage of guys have some form of color blindness, particularly men. And so I'm saying this because it's a guy's podcast, so I'm guessing I'm ringing a bell somewhere. But I had one friend who was so colorblind used to say, yeah, if the red light weren't on top, a lot of people would be dead. So, I mean, it was red green is usually the thing. So anyway, right. I got this guy together for a business trip back east. He went back east, saw friends and family and business associates, and came back and took this then 30-year-old to the most expensive fancy dinner she'd ever been taken to in San Francisco. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was like, people wanted to know, did I win the lottery? What happened to me? It was an amazing thing. Women were flirting with me. I was like, really? Because I took you shopping? I mean, it was literally, Jude, a transformation for him. His personality changed. People were giving him attention and good attention. And I was like, which is kind of why I did it to begin with. But I thought, because I was hating the job, and I thought, well, I said to him, what would you have paid me for that? Mind you, mid-80s, okay? He said, I don't know, $50 an hour. I said, thank you. And I just started telling people I did that. So that's how I started. It was not fancy. And that was a time, I don't know where you were, I don't know where you were, maybe in the 80s or 90s, but what happened was it was very, formal. No such thing as casual dressing that we all do now, casually smart, maybe a jacket, maybe a suit that you'll have for the rest of your life for a wedding or a funeral, right? But
Right.
back then it was guys who went to, and I was near Silicon Valley, everybody had to wear suits and jackets. Boom, on Fridays it became dress down Fridays. But guess what?
Yeah.
There was all of the clothes that I know, Jude, I've seen you a few times. You've worn a sport jacket or not, or you've taken it off, but you've been styling like today, great shirt. And for guys, it's much easier than women, that's for sure. But anyway, there was nothing in the stores for in between suiting and, sport jackets and casual. There wasn't casual dressing. There were Dockers and jeans, but jeans were not dress jeans. They were just Levi's for the weekend and sweatpants. And so the bosses were freaking out because they'd have European clients coming in who never dressed down. And they had these people in Silicon Valley wearing, hippie t-shirts basically. And so so that was the time. So my specialty became, dress down Friday became the thing now. That's all there is. But that became like, I ended up working with a lot of the stores, doing salons in stores. And I can remember my former husband, okay, so guys, I'm just going to say this since a lot of you are starting over. It's really tough when the woman tells you, you dress like, you know what, you need my help. I was smart enough. I'd studied about relationship enough. I knew better. I liked this guy. Okay. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Oh my God, he really needs help because he was going on a European business trip. And I was like, this is going to be scary. I was like, oh, you're going to Europe. Do you have a suit? And he showed me a suit and I was like, not even a good idea, but the time had way passed. Okay. He'd had it forever. It was so out of style. And I'm like, gee, the guys in Europe really dress. And he said, oh, maybe I should hire you. And I'm like, whew, because when a guy hires me, then I'm the professional. I'm not just the girlfriend going, ew, you look like, ew. That's a
so basically you didn't woman-splain to him how to dress like a man, right?
Dude, I nailed it. No, I didn't. I didn't woman-splain.
Which is always which is with both sexes always a good way to enter a conversation without doing that. So it's interesting.
Please jump in.
Yeah. Yes. You mentioned Boulder and the fashion in Boulder. I remember when I moved to Colorado, first Fort Collins, and then right to Denver in the 90s. I don't think as far as I can remember, I did not own a pair of jeans. So I grew up outside of Chicago, and I did have a mother that was relatively into fashion. She was a hairstylist and she grew up on the south side of the city. So she was more into culture and theater. And so we dressed appropriately to go to theater. And so I had a working knowledge, if you will. I wouldn't say that I had obviously my early 20s, a defined look or even the finances to create a defined look at that time. But I did, I had an understanding. So I remember even doing things like wearing a pink shirt to the Stampede, which is the country bar that is here, which at that time was like, oh my God, this is weird. So, that's kind of funny. And things have evolved or devolved depending on what you're looking at over the decades in how we dress. And so that's why when we were talking, I was like, this is probably something that especially divorced dads are not thinking about while they're going through all of these challenging times. So but before we get into this, I want guys to just take the time to stop and hear what we're going to be talking about, because we're going to wrap it all up together in a nice bow by the end as to why it is important for you to be paying attention to this. And I just had a conversation with somebody this last week about he's an executive and he handles a team, and we were talking. He was commenting on how I dressed and it was the banking industry, and I said, I remember a time when, and we talked about the people that come into, to his office and work with his staff and whatnot. And I said, well, what would hurt to have them and yourself looking better than anybody that was coming in? And he was going back and forth like, well, it makes him uncomfortable, et cetera, which I do not subscribe to that philosophy. I believe that you can never be overdressed for any occasion. And if ever you're going to err, it would be on the side of overdressing rather than underdressing. And so I just say all of that for us to start now talking about why it is important to pay attention to how you look.
So first impressions, we all get them. The minute you run into a person and you see them, you immediately see whatever they're presenting themselves. If you see someone, for instance, I'll start with this, Jude. Our eyes are drawn to imbalances. What I mean by that, if you think of Jimmy Durante, the famous comedian, he's known for his gigantic nose. And so, but that's, even if you saw him in the street, you didn't know who it was, you would go, whoa, that guy has a big nose. And I'm not making fun of big noses. It's just we notice stuff. And you'll notice like little 3-year-olds that go, ew, you got a big nose. They just say it, right? Kids just say stuff, but we think it. Okay. We've learned to be polite and not say anything, but then the kid says it, you're going, whatever. But we notice things that are imbalanced, like if somebody's body's super out of proportion or somebody's face is out of proportion. But there's stuff that we can do something about. We can do something about the way we choose to have our hair cut, the way we choose to groom ourselves, beards, all of that. We can choose to do a lot of we can choose the style of glasses we wear. I mean, glasses are a big deal, and I'm going to go on about this for one more minute. We can choose to say, it's like, for me, I don't dress my clients and say signed by Karina. That's not the point. Because for me, it's not about the clothes. Yeah, I'm good at it. Yeah, I can help you shop. I can do all that stuff. I do closets. I'll do whatever you need in person or on Zoom. But the point is, who are you? And I know I've been divorced. It was amicable. We're good friends. I get to be Grammy to my stepson's kids because of our relationship, But here's the thing. My life, I didn't have to worry about the clothes thing. I got that one down. But when our lives changed so radically, we moved. You said you moved from Chicago. I moved from, you moved from San Francisco to somewhere like here. It's like, no, you can never be overdressed, but you can feel a little silly, if you're in a suit when it's too much. What are you selling, insurance? You could look. So for me, it's about appropriate to the environment. And
Sure.
It's like, you don't really want to show up. And I'm going to go back again about the imbalances. Again, it's to what my mother taught me. She would say, see that, pretty painting on the wall? You didn't really notice it because the frame stands out. So the frame is like too bright. And so you're noticing the frame instead of the painting. Let me reframe it, and you reframe it, because here's the thing. I want you, whether man, women, anybody who might be listening to this, I want you to notice that you're dressing yourself, even if you're not dressing yourself or paying attention to it, but you want to showcase you. Like I say to somebody, a woman I'm shopping with who wants to get these really fancy shoes that don't really go with anything. I'm like, look, do you want to be remembered for those $500 purple shoes, or do you want to look awesome and classy? Oh, so the first thing is, it's an inside out job, and you're doing some work with the advocate, you're learning, you're, probably really focused on your co-parenting. You've got a lot of different focuses if you've just started over. I know, change of habitation. I mean, it's like so much coming at you at once, and it doesn't have to take thousands of dollars to do this. It might take.
Okay, let me stop you there real quick, because we're going to get into the expenses, and I do want to talk about that, but I want to take what you just said about the inside out job and take this a little bit, the image part of it a little bit deeper, because when we're going through divorce, as you've experienced, there's a lot of things that are out of our control that we can't do anything about. We've got a lot going on, like you mentioned too. There's a ton and so it's a chaotic time. But you made the comment, you have a choice, and so during this time we have a choice then to start focusing on what we can control, our emotions, our physical activity. And how we look and how we present ourselves to our children during this time, to our potential new romantic relationships, if you're through divorce and you're starting to date again, or to the judge, lawyers, to the judge or the magistrate that you might be in front of, etc. So the way I look at this is, and give me your comments on this, is a form of self-care in starting over as in your life we call it in our community life 2.0, right? This is life 2.0,
Yeah,
and this is
exactly.
one very quick and easy way and to start down that path and have some control over what you're doing.
Thank you. That was the perfect segue to what I'd like to share.
Okay.
It's
And we didn't even set that up.
We did too. We rehearsed for days. Yeah, absolutely true. When I say it's an inside out job, look, I've dealt with guys who come from corporate and gone over, and now they're going to be working on their own. And it's like, oh, who do I model this after? A lot of you guys have dressed as you've dressed, thought about it or not, but you've dressed in response, if you will, to the woman you were with in the past. Okay. And maybe it was good. Maybe she had attention on it. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she ridiculed you. I don't know. But either way, you are not in partnership with that person anymore. So you might already have your own style. Jude, my guess is for you, when you got divorced, it wasn't about a big style change because you already had attention on that. You see what I mean?
Yep.
But for a lot of you guys, especially if you married young, you came out of maybe being really athletic. You just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I just wear my athletic stuff and I stick on a different shirt, but you haven't thought about it much. But to your point, right. I mean, because I'm also a dating coach and I do guys' profiles and all that stuff, getting online because that's presenting yourself, like when you're dating. I mean, whatever you said in your dating site, that's a first impression, not just your photo. And I'm just going to stick this in for dating. Please, guys, no bathroom selfies, okay? Got to just say it.
Okay.
That's
a whole nother podcast episode.
We're going to do that one, and we're going to have fun with it. But just please, no bathroom selfies, okay? That means you don't. Okay. That implies you don't have any friends that can hold a camera. Okay, that's what that implies. And that implies you have really short arms, okay? Anyway, just saying. Had to say that. Okay.
Yeah, that's your PSA. Thank you, Karina. No bathroom photos on your. Drop that pearl, guys. Pick it up and run with it, and hold on to it until another episode later. But
hold on.
But yes,
okay. Hold that thought.
So we're in agreement on that. This is something that that can be be quick, that you can do, that you can control, that has an impact both externally on the people around you, but also internally on how you feel about yourself when you look good, when you're dressing appropriately to a situation. And you started to talk about it being expensive. It does not have to be expensive to do. Like you mentioned, your ex-boyfriend that had lots of money, and that's what I think when guys in particular who haven't learned, because it is a learning process. It's not like we're born knowing fashion or in tune with fashion or what our particular look is like, because that's different for people too. You see some people that are suited up, some people that are more casual, and different people have different looks and different styles. Mm-hmm. And so that's a learning process. Like you mentioned, it takes time and it evolves, right? Like mine has evolved over the decades. It's not the same as, it's funny you said athletes. Like I was an athlete, and that was part of my style in the late teens and early 20s until I wasn't. And then it didn't make sense to be having some of that look and that style. So it evolves over time, and you just have to take the time to pay attention to it. I think is the first one. Be aware of what you're wearing, where you're going. Getting somebody, just like anything, whether you're working with a divorce coach or a dating coach or a style or image consultant like yourself, getting help is like the fastest way, or a therapist, right? The fastest way to get help. But start us down that path of how we can get the help, why it's not expensive, and maybe some first steps.
Absolutely. So, let me just tell a really quick story about a client, because it's really quick and it wasn't expensive, but it'll answer this stuff. Okay. So he'd been married for 45 years. Okay. He'd never dated. He met her in college. His ex-wife, it was a sexless marriage. It was whatever, not particularly amicable, but fast forward, He was going to be starting a business. He was a professor, but he was going to be starting a business. And he was in San Diego, California, where I used to live. He only had surf clothes and baggy. He had nothing. Okay. And like an absent-minded professor, I mean, like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he was going to be going and asking for venture capital money, which meant he needed to look. He's a good-looking man. He was like in his 60s, but he really and I just said, Paul, you can't go to that thing without letting me. Well, I don't have that much money. I said, Macy's is having their after Christmas sale. Trust me. And so he was like, okay, never had thought about this in his life, professor, whatever. So I took him to Macy's. I think he only spent $500 or $600. I'm not saying you guys need to even do that, but he needed a suit. Okay. We managed to, I mean, I'm good at this. I'm also a consignment store queen. And guys, there are consignment stores for men too. And I'm not talking Goodwill. Okay. I mean, that I find gems there, but that's really difficult if you don't know how to do it. But there are consignment boutiques. And I say boutique because and what's great about those, I'll just stick this in if it's not okay with you, because it really speaks to the budget thing. Consignment stores carefully curate what they're willing to put on their shelves. They're going to be within the last couple of years fashion wise. But, unless you're 21 or 25, it is not about a fad. It's about style, and you want to get things that you're going to be able to wear for a while. And they don't have to be brand new. Oh, eBay is my new whatever. Once you know a brand and your style, eBay, I had moths got my cashmere sweaters. I cried. I actually cried. So I just went onto eBay and put in what I was looking for. And for $25, I got the more beautiful than any of the 4 that were ruined. I was very happy about that. So there are resources like eBay, and eBay is just an easy one. Amazon too, but I'm talking about eBay where you either get gently used or people just throw things up on eBay that are new. I got 2 new pairs of shoes for half price. I knew they were my size. I knew they were great. And I was very pleased about that. Instead of 120, it was 60. So there's tons of resources. And also, by the way, at the end of this and in the show notes, you're going to get you can click and get some free tips. They're like, how many tips? 8 or 10 really, really helpful tips. So I'm going to be offering that too, so they can actually see it and not have to remember everything. But so this guy, Paul, so I took him shopping. We got things tailored. And as we went and I told him about watches. Guys, it's kind of the only jewelry that if you're in a higher echelon trying to get it, if can get away with smartwatches now, an Apple Watch or some of the other smartwatches, you can get away with those now. And I tell people, if you're a scuba diver, then you can wear a dive watch. If you're not, don't wear a dive watch. You know what I mean? It's like silly. Or, but don't wear your cheap watch if you're going somewhere. And I said, if some of you do have some resources, and if you do, probably there's some beautiful watches, but I tell people Breitling is like, they're probably $1,200, $1,500 for the least expensive, but that would be, at least you're in the club if you need to be in the club. I'm not suggesting you go buy a Breitling watch, but the funny thing, the reason I mentioned that is so Paul goes to this event, comes back, got somebody to invest in him. And he came back and he said, I can't believe the difference that made. He said, and then he said, the guy who's investing in me was wearing a Breitling watch. I noticed, which he never would have noticed had I not mentioned that. But the guy said to him, he said, why did you choose me out of all these entrepreneurs who are here? Paul asked the guy, and the guy said, because you look like you probably, took the time to put yourself together and look like a professional, and the other guys didn't.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I mean, that goes across the board and that goes back to your impression thing. And I don't know what they say. You have like 10 seconds to make an impression.
It was 7 back in the day, 20, 30 years ago. It was 7 seconds. My guess, with all the boom, 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 my guess is it's 3 or 4 now. Seriously. I'm sure
all the attention deficit now, right? Yeah, for sure.
But also just internet. Boom, 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 boom. We just move fast,
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then to your other point that there's so many options out there now. It doesn't have to be, go to the Armani store. It can be, they've got the discounts like the Marshalls and the TJ Maxx's and stuff like that. That's still new. That's some that are some nice brands as well. Or if I
Online.
found amazing things from thrift stores. You just got to, like you said, you got to know how to do that. You got to know what to look for. It just takes a little more educating yourself or getting educated from somebody to help you to find stuff there. But you don't have to spend
Mm-mm.
thousands and thousands of dollars.
No,
Macy's, I love Macy's. Macy's is one of my favorite places to go find
it's very
stuff
hectic
as
though.
well.
Macy's can
It
be
is,
tough, and you might want to take a woman friend, your sister, with you
yeah.
to help you navigate, really.
Well,
Because if,
and
yeah,
Macy's and some of these other stores have personal shoppers that
right,
people don't know about, that you
right,
can work with, and you can go in, you can say, hey, and they're free. I would like to work with one of your personal shoppers, and
right.
there's no limit to the dollar amount that you have to spend, or you don't have to spend $1,000 to work with a personal shop. They just have people there that will help you, that are knowledgeable about the products that they have and knowledgeable about fashion. But I would just caution you that know what you're doing before you go in there, and
Thank you.
have a general idea. And go ahead. Yeah.
Let me jump on that one. So like when I work with clients, Jude, I actually have a workbook, that a PDF that I send people, basically so that I can help you create, how do you not want to look anymore? How do you want to look? There's a list of hundreds of adjectives in there so that you can work. It's exercises to do that I do with you if you want me to, or you do it on your own. But it really, how do I not want to look? I don't want to look like, you know, I don't want to look like I'm in my 20s anymore. I don't want to look sloppy. I
Right.
don't, how do you not want to look? And if your kids are a little bit older, I don't want to look like daddy. I want to look like,
Yeah.
maybe you'll always be dad, but you might not be daddy anymore,
Right.
So anyway, I want you to know before you go into that store, because they are salespeople. They will be getting,
Sure.
especially and I'm well aware of this because I know them. Those personal shoppers do get commission. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not impartial to you. So you need to, I want to empower you to empower yourself. Take a friend with you, whatever. The good news is Macy's, it's very, very fair and returnable. Everything's returnable. Okay.
Right.
But get somebody who cares about you, who's bipartisan, if you will, about you, that no matter what situation with your former spouse, get somebody who cares about you to come with you. But most of all, find
Oh,
out who you are and what you're looking for before you go. And the distinction too is thrift stores are one thing, but I'm advocating for consignment stores. Okay,
yeah. Right.
where you could
Mm-hmm.
get the designer clothing, you can get the $1,000 or the $250, $300 shirt for $75. But nobody has to know
Right.
that you spent $75 on it. And I'm
Exactly.
with women, by the way, I train women to just say thank you, because we as women, if you say you look nice, it was only $10. Don't say
Yeah,
that.
don't say that. Exactly. Well,
Say
and I also want to caution people, who you bring with you matters too. So
thank
be
you.
careful, because they might care about you and they might like you, but they still might have terrible fashion sense, and then they might also want you to look a certain way
Yeah.
depending on what your relationship is with them. So ideally, right, if you've got resources, find an image consultant, find somebody that can help you refine what you want to do. Obviously, I think probably a lot of the guys that are listening right now, that's probably not the case. They're probably going to want to do some research. Hey, the internet's great now. Back when I started my journey of refining my, you couldn't, you had to go like read a magazine. You didn't have the internet and all these resources. Or you could literally, if you wanted to go online, you could figure this out in a day or less as to what you want and what you're thinking, and with your budget, where you would go, what that would look like. You could do the work if you want. If you want to put that in to figure out what that is, and then go and shop. So let's if you can, we got about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Let's start with maybe just a first step. I'm in the middle of my divorce. Like like you mentioned, I can relate to this, right? At the end of my end of my relationship, I'd not stayed in shape, and I hadn't taken care of myself the way that I should. Was in dad life, whether I was changing diapers or running kids around to daycare or back or whatever. Like really taking care of myself and dressing nicely was not at the top of my list.
Right.
But I knew then once my divorce was final that I was going to be back out there again. So I had to be paying attention to all of these things, and one of those was clothing. What can be one of the first things, especially if somebody that hasn't paid attention or doesn't have any education around this, starts to do, and then this maybe a couple of other ones, and then we're going to give them your link to help them with the the
Right.
further steps.
They can actually literally download the a bunch of tips. So the very first thing is to say, wow, whether you've gained weight, lost, whatever the trip is, look in the mirror. Do I need a haircut? Is this like scruffy? Look in the mirror. Ask your best buddy, your brother, your friend, a woman friend. Just say, help me. I know that I want to look better out in the world. Ask the opinions of somebody.
I got an even better one. Go ask the most attractive woman that you're attracted to for her feedback on how you look and what you're.
Okay. That is so scary.
Oh, I know. Well, but that's good because you're going to have to be doing that if you're going to be out in the dating world anyway, which leads into the whole dating coach thing and approaching people. But if you want an honest feedback from somebody that you're attracted to and that you want to be attracted to you, that is completely scary, but you're going to get the God's honest truth.
That's one thing, but I want to answer your question.
Okay. That's too much.
Start? I wouldn't start there. Okay. I wouldn't start there. I'd start with yourself. And one of the things I've told people is, energy flows where attention goes. If you're looking for a red truck, you want to buy a red truck, you never knew there were that many red trucks. Okay. Whoa. Because that's what you're looking for. Okay. So so what I'm going to invite you to do, if you really think, if this is ringing a bell for you and you're going, whoa, I got to pay attention to this. It's about paying attention. So when you're watching a TV show, when you're watching the news, when you're at a store, go, that guy's styling. Start noticing what you're noticing. It made my life very easy for me when I could say to a corporate guy leaving and going off on his own, I said, what actor do you resonate with? And you know what? His name was Harrison Ford was the answer because he himself rode horses, right? And Harrison Ford, you know exactly what he looks like. He wears, he's very casual. That was appropriate for that guy coming out of business suits. When he was going to be working one-on-one with clients, he didn't need suits anymore. So you got to really think about the inside out. How do you want people to see you now? Okay. Do you want to look sexy because you're dating? Do you want to look classy? Well, if you want to look classy, then you're going to need to buy a more expensive shirt. But that doesn't mean you have to spend more money. You just have to go, ooh, I'm going to go online. Expensive men's shirts. Whoa, $250. Then you go on eBay and find that shirt in your size. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like, and color. I got to say something about color, Jude, real quick. And that's that color is really important too. And, people get their colors done and all that kind of stuff. If you have blue eyes, wear blue as much as you can. If you have green eyes like I do, this is probably my best color. Because, again, the eye is drawn. Because when I wear green, it means I'm better framed as a photo because people are going to notice my eyes more. There's actually a psychology of color, and that's wear your eye color and people will notice you more. If you have brown eyes, it does not mean wear brown every day. Okay.
Yeah, you're screwed, basically.
Right. No, not at all. Because I can't wear blue because I have so much olive in my skin. I can't I have no blue in my closet. Okay. But you have brown eyes, right, Jude? I mean, because you can wear.
Yeah, they're hazel.
Hazel. But see, hazel, mine too, but mine go blue. They go this, they go that. So if you stared in the mirror and look at all the different colors in your eyes, that's your color palette. Your skin tone, your hair, and your eyes go, oh my gosh, no, I have no blue anywhere. Right. So maybe stop wearing so much blue. My mother used to have us wear blue all the time. It was horrible. Even though she was an artist, she didn't know what I know. And so I'm saying color's important. And if somebody has said, dude, that's such a good sweater on you, and you feel like, you know what, you're going out to maybe a Christmas party or something, but you remember that you got 3 women had given you a compliment last time because you do have blue eyes, last time you wore that really nice blue sweater, you only have one, wear it. You still might feel like, you know what, by the end of the night, but if you've gotten 3 cute girls telling you that you look good, you might feel good. You might not, but you have a better chance of it. So pay attention to color and also get a pair of jeans that fit you well. Go to Macy's. Go anywhere you want. Find a guy or woman, salesperson that looks decent themselves that you can relate to, possibly your age range, and just say, help me find a darn good pair of jeans. Get a blue pair, get a black pair. If it's summer, get a tan pair, whatever. You find a pair of jeans, buy 2 or 3 in the colors that work for you. Just Get jeans that fit, okay? That fit. I had
Yes.
one guy I was dating, and I'm like, dude, do you want women to be attracted to you? You got a great butt. Show it off. What? And he was like, oh, thanks. That helped. Yeah, do it. You use your assets, okay? And the other thing is get one nice shirt, okay? Wear t-shirts the rest of the time, or, athletic, whatever. But get yourself a gorgeous shirt that you feel good in. Yes, the thing you've been saving to wear to that fancy thing. Just get yourself a great shirt. And I'm going to say one thing too about it's winter in particular. Guys, boots are really sexy. Okay.
Yep.
Don't wear tennis shoes all the time. Just don't. Okay.
Yep.
Get yourself a gorgeous pair of, that's one thing I noticed about you. I can't not notice. It's the lens I look at life through, but Jude, you wear great shoes and great boots. Okay. Get yourself a great pair of short boots because we think they're really sexy, and you look grounded in boots. It grounds you. It brings out your manhood, frankly. So well-fitting clothes, pay attention. You don't have to have designer labels. I don't have all designer labels. I just know how they fit. And it's an inside out job. And then it could, though, even if you feel like, it might become an outside in job if you get a whole bunch of those compliments.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think, what I'd like to wrap up with and put a bow on. Like I said in the beginning, you are going through a lot, and there might be a lot going on mentally and emotionally for you. And this is just something that you can do to make yourself feel better. You're going to get those compliments when let's say you start with one of those starter kits, like you mentioned, the jeans, a nice shirt or two, a good pair of shoes or boots. I'm a fan of the boots, the Chelsea boots, and boots like that, and get a good haircut, go spend the money on a haircut, and in a beard trim or clean shaven, whatever it might be. And it might take a little bit of time in this whole process, right, that you're going through. It's there's not a finish line, fellas. It's not an end goal. It's a process. Try to enjoy it. Try to, if you can reframe it in your mind, when you start getting those compliments that, hey, yeah, so this is good. I like how I feel. The interactions you're going to see are going to start to be different, whether that is with the opposite sex, or maybe even just in the workplace and getting compliments on how you look, or that there might be a quote unquote change, or you seem different, or whatever that is, when somebody starts to experience you in a different way. That can be an outside in job, and it's a very easy, inexpensive way for you to do it. So I think that's, Karina, that's fine. So you want to add to that? Okay.
I just have one word, because you said it in what you just said. Confidence is freaking sexy.
Yeah.
Okay. You can put a shirt on and go, right? Confidence. Most important.
Yeah. And
Inside out.
even if we might be faking it some days, right? Sometimes, like you alluded to earlier, like you might go and you still might not feel great, but you got some compliments. And, eventually your neural pathways are going to start reprogramming. We're not going to get into that tonight or today in our conversation, but your neural pathways start reprogramming. You start feeling a little bit different. You start to expect that. And then that confidence becomes real confidence, as opposed to, you just trying to lift yourself up and feel better about yourself. So gentlemen, it works. I promise you. If you can get in touch with Karina, and Karina, how would somebody listening get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, we're going to put, I think, the show notes. Successappeal.com is my site, but I'm also going to put a link in the show notes where you can just click on it, and we will email you. It's basically wardrobe upgrade tips. They're real tips that you can go, oh, fit is everything. Oh, grooming. Whoa. So there's just some really helpful tips. You're going to get those for free. So if you get those, and then I'll be sending out more tips, and they can find me that way. And also, if you wanted to talk about, more of the inside out things, you're welcome to jump on my calendar and we can talk about that.
Yep. So they're going to get the link and the tips for free if they click on those. Mm-hmm. And I think on your website, they can go directly, and they can schedule directly with you if they immediately want right now to have a conversation with you and talk about what they can do, right?
Yeah, talk about that because, as I say, I do dating, relationship, all of that stuff. And image consulting is a subset of it, unless, like, if you were to hire me, Jude, you don't need image consulting.
Okay.
But but if you need it, so I'll do either just the image consulting or talk about the bigger picture with you. And I've been having a really good time with dating profiles for guys, because that's another first impression thing. And what do you wear in the photos? Important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll get together and maybe we'll have a future episode around really that fun. And dating websites and how to put those together. We've done a little bit of that in the past, but maybe we'll do some in the future. Karina, thank you so much. I could literally talk to you for another 2 hours on this, but I think that what you're doing, I sincerely appreciate. We didn't get too deep into stuff, but I just say, fellas, that Karina has the right mindset around masculine and masculinity and femininity, and she will take care of you in the right manner and in a way that is uplifting and kind and respectful, and is going to be something that is going to be beneficial for you to take and go forward in your life 2.0. So, Karina, thanks for the work that you do. I really appreciated our conversation today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jude.
To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.